What's going down, commanders? Hope everyone's doing well today. What basically I'm going to do is, so many people have asked me about this, and this is going to a particular faction inside your base. And basically I'm just going to try to give you all the tips and things that you need to know to understand how a faction works. So basically, start off, it's your units in your base. So if I click them, I'm survivors, so I'm going to go full survivors. If you're corpus, you've got to go full corpus, and the same for sentinels. But there is some exceptions to the units you can use. So survivors, I'm using full cosmortars and gus. Sea Wizard is a factionless unique. It doesn't break the factions. Same as the Ridge Runner. It's a limited factionless unique. Same as the Bayrak. And same as the Technical X and the Annihilator X, if I can say that properly. So them 4 or 5 units are factionless. They should not break the faction. If they do, it will be a bug, and Kixeye should fix it. I'm not sure if the Ridge Runner breaks the Warlust. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is something you might need to test just in case. I know there's a few units that come out, and Kixeye haven't made them properly factionless. Other units you can't use, obviously, Corpus units, Sentinels units. So, for instance, Sagittarius, the Centaur, Oxford, and Cannons. Unless you wouldn't use these unless you're that faction, basically. But I can use the Stalker and Rosie if you haven't got enough Cosmortars or your Gus isn't high level. You can chuck Rosie in over the Gus and obviously Stalkers over the Cosmortars. So now that that's out of the way, hopefully you've got an understanding there of what you've got. So next thing up I'm going to talk about will be the spawning units. So your war production. And basically you've got to make sure these are survivors. So I've got Pathfinder in there. It's probably the best plane out of the survivors, the 2 survivors there, or 3 survivors. The Pathfinder's the one that's spawning from the airfield. Similar with the barracks, it's the Wastelander. It's the best unit out of all the survivor units that you can put in there. Over that, you want to go to your War Factory. I'm upgrading that, so I can't get that up, but it's the Boomer I've got spawning out there. Again, it's a survivors unit. Right, I don't want to miss anything. Next up, I'm going to talk about the strongholds and bunkers and towers, depending on what you've got. So with these, I've got Janissaries. They're the best of what survivors got to offer, basically. The Stalkers don't go into your bunkers, so you can't use them. There is a thing with some legendary units. I think anything after the Stingers legendary ERMs, Kixeye went factionless with them. So anything after them 2 units you can use. There's a few units I'm not too sure about, but I will discuss that later. So I've got Janissary ERMs, and that's throughout every single one of my strongholds. For now, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a decent survivors unit on the Series 3 we're on, and then we can use them inside the bunkers over them. Next up will be Last Stand. Last Stand's a funny one. Again, I've got Cosmortars in there to keep it full survivors, but I can use Bayraks, Technical X, Annihilators, and you can also use, let me get a couple of them out of my PvP. You can also use legendary stuff as well. Again, it's anything after the Stingers and legendary ERMs that will be factionless. So I can... Legendary Lightbringers won't break faction, they're factionless. War Horses won't break faction, and the Jackal won't break faction. If you've got anything less than that, then you're probably better off sticking with Cosmonautas or anything survivors related to put in there. Bayraks again, Technical X's you can put in there. They're actually probably one of the better ones to put in there, to be fair. The only problem with this Last Stand thing is the Lightbringers got a busted status when it hits. So if it hits that building, you're not going to get any spawning units anyway. And it's the same thing with the Academy. Last Stand, you should be able to use Ridge Runners. I've not tested the Ridge Runners just yet, so I don't know if they break the faction. If they do, it should only be a bug. Again, you can use the Stalkers, and you can use the legendary Spartans. You can use legendary ERMs, legendary Stingers, and they shouldn't break faction. The Devouts do. Legendary Devouts break faction. Moving on. I don't want to miss anything out, guys, and I should have written down where I need to be. Right, next up will be the Defense Lab. There's 6 turrets that have got a faction. So basically, the Leadstorm Special Beam Cannon, they're Corpus. The Sledge, Bouncing Betty are survivors. an upholder, grav pulse, a sentinels. These are the ones you want to make sure that you've got the right faction to suit the faction that you're using in your base. There's a lot of hoo-ha about the Farsight, and basically what the Farsight is, I think it was Adele, he tried to claim that it was a corpus turret. That's bullshit. It's a faction. It doesn't matter what if you use that with any of the factions. None of the other stuff. Why is my mouse not working? None of this other stuff matters. You can use any of these heavy turrets. You can use any of these CC turrets and any of the support turrets and the rocket missiles. Don't break faction. None of this. Nothing else breaks faction. Just the 6 turrets here. So make sure you've got the right one to correspond with your faction that you've got on your CC. And that's another thing. Make sure you've set the faction on your CC. So you pick the faction that you want to choose. I'm survivors. This is what everyone keeps asking me about, going full survivors. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to go over? I think that's everything in the base. I am going to bring I've got my ult with me just to show you that oh, hang on, before I go any further, drone silos. I've got corpus units in there, don't worry about it. They're uncontrollable units, so they don't break faction. Same as the last stand defenders that come out of the buildings when you... Not the last stand as in these last stands, the little ERMs and all that crap that comes out when you kill a storage or an oil derrick or whatever. They don't break faction either. And these, well, I'm going to try to show you right now that the drone silos don't make any difference. Plus you can see I've got the Farsight generator. And if that's correct, as what Adele says, that should break faction, but I'm 99% sure it won't. I'm just going to bring my mini in now just to show you that it doesn't break faction. Hopefully I'm not pink bubbled, because I have been making sure. Before I go any further, this building, the Sky Guard, I'm not sure if this will break faction. It shouldn't, because it's not controllable units, but I have gone with a survivors unit, aces. Obviously, you're going to pick a unit that covers the faction that you're going to use. I've gone with aces, but I was using these guys, and I'm not 100% sure whether that does or doesn't break faction. I do need to do a bit more testing on that. I wouldn't bother with the legendary raptors. I think they get stuck. They don't even move. Right, without further ado, I'm going to hit myself, and I'm going to try to show you the faction Warlust going up. Fingers crossed this works. Otherwise, I'm going to look like an idiot. No, I have hit myself previously, and it did work. Right, as you can see, it's clear on my end. It's a clear faction. So if I go to my ult, and I'm going to just drop some stuff in to show you the faction actually going up. So bear with me, I'm just going to chuck in a load of crap that don't really matter, and you'll see everything that I put in, the factions going up. Hopefully you can see that. I can see it at my end. So the faction's working on my end. Let me chuck in. I've got a heavy tune here, and I just want to run it around and just show you that the faction's 100% working. For some reason it won't let me deploy me big tune, but as you can see, I'm up to 52% faction Warlust with the survivors, so it's 100% working, and that's where you need to be with the base. Again, as I said, the air silos don't matter, and that Farsight isn't a faction turret. It's not a corpus turret like Adele said. It's a faction. It's non-faction. It doesn't matter if you use that or not. I think that's everything I need to go over. I'm just going to end attack quickly and make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, what I will tell you, there is something. So if you go into the gear store, special ops, anything that's not survivors in here will break faction. For instance, the Twin Titan defensive op. Where is it? There. That will break your faction. This will break your faction. Seek and destroy. That will. I can't remember if Apollos. I think they're survivors. Are they not? I think that might keep your faction. Let me just double check. Make sure I'm right. Apollos are. No, they're Sentinel, aren't they? Corpus. So yeah, that will break your faction. Anything basically that's not a survivor's special op will break your faction. For instance, the Artemis or Corpus again, and anything like that. So be careful what you use as a special op. It will break your faction. I think I've gone over everything I need to go over. Hopefully you've got a good idea. Obviously you would change what you use in your base and in your bunkers and the spawning units and the last stand, depending on what faction you choose. If you choose Corpus, make sure you've got as much Corpus or all Corpus in your base that's spawning, or factionless units, so the last stand and things like that. Other than that, guys, I think I've covered everything. If I've missed anything out, please... Well, I haven't missed anything out because you see my Warlust went up. But if there's any other tips you want to put out there, guys, please put it in the comment section below, and other players can read that and hopefully get a better understanding of what I'm trying to say here. Other than that, stay safe, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.